You know, this is one I should be more excited about, but I'm actually a little bit torn. Let's get into this. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for tuning in. Haven't uploaded a video for a little while, and I do apologize about that. Things have been a little bit chaotic here. Hopefully soon I'll be able to get onto some sort of a regular upload schedule. So bear with me for those of you who are following along. I want to talk a little bit about this thing here, the Tamiya CC-01 chassis Land Rover Defender 90. This kit I actually ordered up just as this whole global pandemic got started. Tamiya themselves actually had a really great sale on these things several months ago, and it was at a price point where I really couldn't pass it up. So I pulled the trigger and picked one of these up. I mentioned in the intro that I should be more excited about this, yet for some reason I'm a little bit torn, and I'll tell you why. I've never had a crawler before. This is actually my very first crawler, regardless of what company we're talking about, whether it's Tamiya or otherwise. I've never had a crawler before, and it's a facet of the hobby that I've been very interested and very intrigued into getting into. So, like I said, when I saw this price, when Tamiya was advertising this, and I believe, if memory recalls, it was something in the neighborhood of about $159 shipped, which for what you're getting in a CC-01 or this sort of kit is a bargain. It's an absolute deal. So I jumped on it. And I jumped on it really not knowing a heck of a lot about the CC-01 or crawlers in general, thinking, hey, this would be a great sort of entry-level dive into the crawler space. Of course, as time has gone on and, longer I've had this, I've been doing a bit more digging into the various crawlers that are out there on the market today, and I've kind of come to realize that while this is certainly a very capable kit and not one I don't think I would not recommend people buy, the reality is the crawler market has moved so far ahead of the CC-01 based platform that Tamiya here that's in this kit that for all intents and purposes this thing is somewhat archaic and a little bit sort of too old school. So I'm a little bit torn, and the reason why is because I actually had some really, really big plans for this. My intention for this is to really sort of detail it out and just add all kinds of extras to it. I may even replace the Lexan body that comes with this thing with a hard body or a hard shell body, and my intention was to convert this to a camel trophy vehicle, safari vehicle. Which I know is not necessarily a new idea. There's lots of people that have done that, but I just think that the camel trophy trucks are so cool that I kind of wanted to make my own. But again, kind of getting into the guts of this vehicle, I'm wondering if maybe I would have been better off putting my money somewhere else. But you know what? This is here. It's in front of us. So I figured, you know what? Why don't we do a little bit of unboxing? So let's get into it. So if you do happen to order yourself one of these CC-01 based Tamiya kits, in particular the Land Rover Defender, this is ultimately what would end up showing up at your door. The box art, not quite the old school box art that we're used to from Tamiya, but I mean, it's still pretty good. Oh, let's turn this thing around. It's still pretty good, shows you what some of these tune-up parts and the hop-up parts and sort of separate items that are required. When you do buy one of these kits, this particular one did include not only the ESC as it says here, not only does it include sort of the ESC, but it's also included the LED kit, as well as standard issue silver can 540 Mabuchi motor. Obviously, the items that would have to be added to this will be a receiver and a battery, as well as a steering servo. Some of those items I actually do have already. The only thing that I am missing right now is a battery for this, which I'm looking to pick one up relatively soon once I do get into this build. So let's do this unboxing. So, as most of you know already, Tamiya kits are kind of notorious. They're wonderfully well packed. And generally speaking, what that means is that when you do actually take everything out, it tends to be a little bit difficult to sort of put it all back in the way it came out of this box. And more often than not, when you end up putting everything back into the box, it doesn't really quite fit the way it did when it came out of the package. But regardless, let's get into this. So here is what you get in a Land Rover Defender 90 CC-01 chassis kit from Tamiya. So you have the first bag here, which looks like front grille, spare tire carrier, light buckets. I think these are tail light buckets. These are sort of the roll cage that's actually around the outside of the vehicle, and this is sort of the front roll cage that runs along the front windshield. We also have side view mirrors, the outside side view mirrors, and a few other small bits and pieces. The next bag, this is a big one. We have what look like transmission gears. Good. We have, I believe these are shock bodies. That's what they look like. Shock bodies. I believe these are rear knuckles. All right. We also have shock oil in, this is bag C, so we have damper oil, springs, and what look like other sort of shock bits and pieces in here. That's bag C. The stock Mabuchi motor, the standard issue 540 can. I should mention I'll be using, if I do end up going ahead and building this, frankly I am a little bit on the fence here, but if I do go ahead and build this, I'm actually going to be replacing this with a proper crawler motor. It'll still be brushed. I'm not going to be going brushless with this, but I will be going with a different motor. I won't be using this one here. What else do we have? Body posts. Good. We have parts bag E, which looks like some zip ties. More than likely these are bushings for wheels and tires, I'm guessing. That's parts bag E. We have parts bag C. Oh, these are metal parts. Yep, everything in here is metal, and as you can see, they're all gears. So these are various differential and transmission gears, as well as what looks like drive shafts as well. And we've also got a universal joint in here. Yeah, and some E-clips. So this is parts bag C. Parts bag A. So this would be the first one that we would start with when we do actually get into this build. We've got some Tamiya standard issue grease, as well as another universal joint, the ubiquitous T-wrench, and a bunch of other gears and shafts and what looks like a motor plate as well. Additionally, we've also got some ball joints as well. So yeah, so that's parts bag A. And parts bag B. Again, more suspension bits, A-arm shafts, what looks like drive cups as well. So that's parts bag B. And an unlabeled parts bag, which looks like it's got some body clips and a few fasteners and whatnot, and some washers, as well as some what looks like some foam tape in here. So that's that parts bag. Of course, we also have the body itself, standard issue clear Lexan. This doesn't look too bad. It's actually quite nice. But like I said, if I do end up going ahead and building this thing, I will more than likely end up replacing this body with a sort of a styrene hard body. I've seen a number out there that are really quite nice, and the one thing that I'm not really thrilled with about this body is that, especially around sort of these corners down in here, some of the builds that I've seen, once you cut out all these bits and pieces, certainly this back corner becomes really flimsy, and it just starts to bounce back and forth just as the car is driving along, not even going over anything like rough terrain or anything. It just sort of, there's no support back here. This gets really, really flimsy once you kind of cut this area out here. So I mean, I'm sure I could easily reinforce this somehow, glue some styrene back here and call it a day. But like I said, I've seen a number of really nicely detailed bodies, hard bodies that, I may end up going that route. So, but that's the body. Comes with it. The next bag. This is another big bag. Needs to be opened up. So let's take a look in here. For the most part, this looks like nothing but sprues. No. So yeah, so here's one bag of parts. This looks like differential cover. I believe this is a plate that fits where the front suspension arms kind of come off of. Motor mount, if I'm not mistaken. A few other sort of reinforcement parts. This is the front, it looks like a front skid plate right here. Maybe you can see it better. Front skid plate and sort of grill bar for the front. This, I believe, also sits around the rear. So yeah, one sprue. The next sprue here, this is rear axle. More transmission cover and differential cover pieces. This looks like the servo saver and the servo arm itself. I'm actually going to be using, if I build this, I'm going to be using a heavy duty servo saver, one of the Tamiya ones. So I'll be using a heavy duty servo saver for this. The wheels. These wheels actually look quite nice, but I'm more than likely going to be going with some beadlock wheels, some metal beadlock wheels. I'm thinking about going with the Landy's 1.9 inch beadlock wheels from RC 4-wheel drive. A little bit on the pricey side, but from all the reviews that I've seen and everything I've read about them, they are fantastic and actually well worth the money, even though they are a little bit on the pricier side, and they're genuinely metal. These are typical plastic wheels, but these are nice. There's certainly nothing wrong with these. If someone wanted to use these straight out of the box, I think these be more than fine. And we also have the tires. Now, virtually every review of the CC-01 that I have seen, every single one of them without exception has said that the biggest sort of letdown for this kit out of the box. And there's more than one letdown, but the sort of the biggest one are the tires that Tamiya includes with the CC-01. Apparently these tires, while they look nice, and they certainly look the part, they've got a very aggressive truck-like tread. The trouble with these is that they are quite hard. They're not as soft as they probably need to be for true crawler operation. These would be fine in, say, regular dirt or sand, but if you're planning to do proper rock crawling, these are typically the very first thing that you replace. Interestingly enough, Tamiya actually sells a very nice hop-up upgrade tire set for the CC-01 chassis that would literally just swap right out and put them on the stock wheels. And again, from everything I've seen and read, everyone says that that is definitely the way to go. They're a far better tire for the CC-01. So those are the tires. And here's the actual chassis tub itself. And this is one thing that kind of, I guess, sets the CC-01 apart from a number of other sort of crawlers. Most of the crawlers actually sort of gone with a ladder type frame, very much like what you would see for a real crawler truck, for a real off-road vehicle. This, and I should mention, the CC-01 chassis is actually a very, very old chassis. This dates back probably at least a decade and a half, maybe a little more. So this has been around for a very, very long time. And I think it's fairly evident just by looking at this chassis design that it is an older design. And this is sort of a big reason why I'm a little bit sort of torn on this one. I'm certain that this is a very capable chassis, and I'm sure that as a vehicle, this is a very, very capable vehicle. But the crawler hobby has moved so far ahead over the last few years that it's going to take a lot of work to get this thing to perform like sort of a more modern day or more contemporary crawler vehicle, to the point where it may even cost more by the time I'm done with this than it would have been to just buy a more contemporary vehicle from a manufacturer like, say, Axial or MST or any of those, RC four-wheel drive or any of those sort of well-known, very, very well-respected crawler manufacturers. But that's what we have here. So this is the CC-01 chassis. And of course, at the bottom of the box, we have the instructions for the Tamiya LED lighting kit. Very good. We have standard issue Tamiya legalese, I guess. We have even more sprues. My goodness, the sprues don't stop. So what look like trailing arms here. We've got some light covers. We've got a few other mounts. These are suspension end links. Yeah, there's the trailing arm, more mounts, and the headlight covers. I believe these are for the shocks, the bottom of the shocks themselves, the spring perches. There's that. We have yet another bag. This looks like bumpers and reinforcements for the bumpers as well. Some more parts here. Yeah. We also have the ESC and the LEDs as well, and all the wiring that's associated with it. Oh no, I'm sorry. That is just the LED kit. This is the ESC. My mistake. This is the ESC with a switch, and I believe this switch is actually weatherproof. It's got a rubber boot around it, so to keep any water out of it. And of course, we have the instructions, and everyone's very familiar with Tamiya's excellent instructions. I've said this in a previous video. I'm thoroughly convinced they spend more time creating these wonderful instruction manuals than they do actually developing the kits themselves, which is certainly saying something. When I mean that, I mean it certainly goes to show that they want their customers to have the best experience when it comes to putting this thing together. So there's the instruction manual. Antenna straw. And we have, of course, a decal sheet. There's decals and the window masks. So yeah, so that's everything you get in a CC-01 box. Land Rover Defender from Tamiya, the Land Rover Defender 90. So, as I said earlier, I'm still a little bit torn about this one. I had big plans for this, and technically I still have big plans for this. Maybe I'm just suffering from, looking at all these really great, highly detailed crawler builds that I've watched over the last little while, and starting to feel that maybe the CC-01 might be a little bit dated. Not to knock anyone who likes the CC-01 or already has one, but a part of me is sort of wondering if maybe my money could have been spent elsewhere, getting something that might be a little bit more contemporary, a little bit more up to date as far as a model is concerned. But I'm not going to completely give up on this one just yet. Like I said, I've got big plans for this, so stay tuned. I'm not really sure as to when I'm going to get into this one. Those of you who've been following along on the channel know that I'm really dying to get into the Tamiya DT03 racing fighter, and those videos are still coming. They're still on their way. I'm hoping over the next week or two to actually get into that build and really sink my teeth into that one, because I'm really looking forward to that. So yeah, so thanks for tuning in, guys. If you liked the video, if you got any sort of value out of it, please feel free to like, subscribe, certainly comment. Let me know your thoughts if you've got a CC-01 yourself. Let me know your thoughts on it. Let me know what you think. Is it a capable crawler? Is it something that I should, forge forward with, or is it something that maybe I should consider selling off and potentially, building something, a different crawler, maybe from a different manufacturer, or maybe just change the direction altogether and don't do a crawler and just do something else with it. I don't know. But again, thanks for watching, guys. I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.